Welcome to another segment of Hepburn's Helpful Hints. I'm glad you chose to drop by. I am here in Ms. Powell's classroom because I have stayed here many an evening getting wonderful ideas from Michelle Powell about how to instruct my children. This particular segment is on number lines, specifically how to use number lines within the Common Core curriculum for first grade. It's awesome. Enjoy.
My name is Michelle Powell, and today we're going to look at using an open number line, sometimes called a blank number line, sometimes called an empty number line, to add two-digit, one-digit numbers, and also for subtraction. So let's start with an empty number line. I teach first grade, and so in first grade I started typically by adding a two-digit number, let's say 26, with a single-digit number, mainly because I really wanted them to grasp and understand why we use a number line, how we use a number line. I also made sure that they had manipulatives so that they could actually concretely move the manipulatives as I drew the number line. So I tell them that we start with 26. I tell them it's better to start with 26 than 3, mainly because if I start with 3, I have to move along 26 jumps, whereas if I start at 26, I only have to add 3 jumps. So we start at 26. We would typically have 26 interlocking cubes, and I say to them, we are going to add 3 cubes. And I tell them, get 1 cube and add to your pile. While they're doing that, I draw a hop. I need them to make that connection that 1 cube is 1 hop. I ask them how many more cubes? 2 more. And then we go on very slowly adding 3 cubes. Each hop, each jump is a cube. Then I tell them we have to number the number line, and later on you'll find out why it's really important to label your jumps. So I tell them, or they tell me, that we added 1 cube, then we added another cube, and finally we added our last cube. We need to count on the number line adding the 3 cubes. So we start at 26, we added 1 more, and I use the common core verbiage, which is, what is 1 more than 26? 27. What is 1 more than 27? 28. What is 1 more than 28? 29. And I tell them to circle that number. And so this is how I show them how to add a 2-digit and a 1-digit number. And we'll do this a number of times. Let's move on to look at a 2-digit number counting with groups of 10s. Okay. So now let's look at how we add 2-digit numbers with multiples of 10s. I always start off with 10, it's what they know. Let's go back to our 26 and 10 more. Again, we talk about, we put the biggest number at the beginning of the number line. So I'm going to go ahead and write 26. Please make sure that you really explain why we do this. They need to know the why. Here's 26. I make a big deal of saying, okay, I'm going to add 10. And I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do it and I take a long time. I want them to show how laborious adding 10 jumps can be. I also go along then and add my ones. I make a big deal of how long and how lengthy adding 10 ones. Once we've done that, I then ask them, is there a quicker way? And more times than not, they say yes. And I say to them, how? Sometimes I have to coax it out of them, but then we talk about how we can count by 10s. So I say to them, okay, let's do 1 big jump, which means 10. At this point, I don't usually have them using interlocking cubes, but I will have them using base 10, mainly because it's easier to manipulate. So they would, at their desk, have 26 base 10 manipulatives, and I tell them, let's add a group of 10, and they know they just need to take a single rod. I tell them to show me the rod, so that everybody is actually physically have it in their hand. And I say to them, what do you notice? They say they have 1 group of 10, and this is when I draw my 1 group of 10. I also then remind them we need to label it. And I said to them, well, what do I put above my hop? Do I put 1 No. How much do I put? I put 10. I added 10. Again, I go back and I use Common Core verbiage and I say, well, what is 10 more than 26? This is something that needs to be practiced and needs to be enforced quite early on in the year. And that's something that my team is learning this year, which is Common Core being quite new. And this is something that next year we would start really early in the year, because once they are au fait with counting by 10 and adding 10 more, using the number line is such a great tool. So I ask them, what is 10 more than 26? And they'll say 36. I move on and I may do another sum, a very similar sum, and I may say 12 plus 20. I've just thought that one of the things that I want to do is ensure that when I'm teaching them how to add groups of tens, that they put the bigger number or the biggest number at the beginning of the number line. I've just looked at my number or my sum or my equation and realized that 20 is bigger than 12. We're going to be talking about how we decompose numbers. Other people call it expanded form, which is the next step. So the first step is adding two-digit numbers with one-digit number. The next step is adding multiples of tens. The last step in showing them how to use a number line is grouping those two strategies together. So I'm going to change my sum. And I'm going to stick with 26 plus 20. Again, we put 26. I cannot say it enough. Explain to them why we're putting the largest number or the biggest number at the beginning of the number line. Then I say to them, show me 20 using base 10. Hopefully they'll have two groups of tens. They'll have two rods. By showing me two rods, I tell them, or I ask them, what do you notice? We have two groups of tens. So I say to them, okay, this is what we can do on the number line. I can show one group of 10. And I tell them, put that down. How many do you now have left in your hand? You have one group of 10 left. I have to show this on my number line. So we do another hop. I want you to notice, well, my hops are quite big at this point because I'm adding groups of tens. So I tell them, well, now that we have two hops, which is my one group of 10, my other group of 10, we have to label. I'll tell you a little bit later why we have to label. I added 10. Excuse me, I'm going to rub this up. And I added another group of 10. One of the check-in strategies I do, that I want them to have good habits. I teach them this in a really methodical manner because I want them to have good habits. Because when they move up into second and third grade, these numbers, which maybe seem quite small at the moment, get much bigger. So it's really important that they have good habits. So labeling your hops, your jumps, your skips is very important. Then I ask them, well, let's just make sure that these numbers add up to 20. Because remember, I'm adding 20 more to 26. So I say to them, well, this is 10, and 10 is 20. It's very good to check. All right, so let's move on. Let's start at 26. Common Core verbiage. What is 10 more than 26? Well, I know it's 36, and I hope they do too. What is 10 more than 36? 46. We circle our answer. I told them, is there anything else that we need to do? No. We've added the jumps that we've put on our number line. So we started at 26, we added 10 more, and then we added another 10 more because we were adding 20. We were adding two groups of 10s. And I used, as I said, the 10 base manipulatives because I want them to concretely understand that this group of 10 that I have in my hand is equivalent to this hop. Last and final step. How do we add two-digit and two-digit numbers together? So two-digit plus two-digit numbers. Again, we start off with our largest number. In this case, I'm sticking with 26. 26 and 12 more. So we have number 26 at the beginning of our number line, which is the biggest number of the two. You would have explained to them why we have the biggest number at the beginning of the number line. Now I say to them, I'm just going to cross this off because now we're going to add 12 more. Again, we talk about, am I going to do 12 single hops? No, it takes a long time, it's laborious, it's not time efficient. So I tell them, show me 12 using your 10 base manipulatives. They will have one group of 10 and 2 ones. I tell them, well, what do you notice? That there is one group of 10 and 2 ones. And I tell them, well, let's do that on our number line. And because we would have previously added multiples and groups of 10s, they're a little bit au fait now and understand that I am going to do a big jump, which is equivalent to their 10 rod, or their rod, which is equivalent to 10. I tell them to put that down. Are we at the end? Of course not. What do you have? You have 2 ones. So I tell them, well, let's add that on our number line. I want you to notice how I make my ones a little bit smaller. I think for those visual learners, it is important or interesting, I think, for them to see how we have one big jump, which is equivalent to 10, and then we have our 2 smaller jumps. As always, we need to label my one jump, or my one big jump, which is equivalent to 10, which is that 10 rod. I'm going to put as 10. And then I tell them, well, how many ones do you have? You have 2. Put 1 down. That's 1. How many do you have left in your hand? Another 1. Again, remember I said about checking? Let's make sure that my numbers at the top add up to 12. 10 and 1 more is 11. 11 and 1 more is 12. I'm good. Now let's add 12 to 26. Again, please make sure that you're practicing adding 10 more, 10 less, 1 more, 1 less. Standing at 26, what's 10 more than 26? 36. Now this is when it gets interesting. My next question to myself is, well, what is 1 more? So basically the numbers, the label at the top of my hops is what's going to remind me how much more I need to add at each point. So I have 36. I now have to add 1 more. It tells me right at the top. So what's 1 more than 36? 37. What's 1 more than 37? 38. I circle my answer. I ask them, children, is there anything else we need to do? No, we have added 12. And I congratulate them on such a good job, because only being 7 years old and adding 2-digit number, good job.